12, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2.
So our PRRs would be plus or minus the factors of 24. So it's a pretty big list, but over the factors of 1. And now you're going to just start guessing, right? So let's guess.
Let me go with
2.
2?
Wait, just kidding. 1.
I don't know, 2 doesn't look too bad. I think 2 works. I plugged 2 in, unless I made a mistake in my arithmetic. I think that works.
it does.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to divide that out. Maybe you already have. I need to divide it out.
We need to do it again, maybe.
Yeah. But be careful on this one because something happened that I don't think we talked about yesterday. Let's make sure everybody's caught up to this point. So we listed all of our possible rational roots. We just started guessing and somebody said 2, so we put 2 in. Yes, it works. If it did, oh, Lily, you need to go check in at the office, honey. We're talking. If it doesn't work, then we pick another number and we just keep guessing till we get one that works, right? Okay, now what's left? What's this? X cubed plus 3x squared plus 4x plus 12. Now, we could guess again, but if you're paying attention, you might notice that now the problem groups. It didn't group in the beginning, but now that you've gotten one out, it does group. Do you see that?
What do you mean group?
Well, I can factor it. I can take an x squared out of the first 2 terms and a 4 out of the second 2 terms. So I have x plus 3 as my common factor, and then x squared plus 4. Now, what if I didn't see it group? What would I do? This is always faster. It's always faster to factor if you can. But if you don't notice that, what are you going to have to do? Guess another number. And because that's a 12, you wouldn't be guessing 24s or 8s. But every other number would be fair game. Right? But I didn't have to do that because I grouped. So what are my solutions? There should be 4 of them now. There should be 4 answers. What are they?
I just have a question on how you were able to cross off the 3, 4, 8 specifically.
The new problem has an n coefficient of or an n number of 12. Is 24 a factor of 12?
No.
Is 8 a factor of 12? So they're not options anymore. They were in the original problem, but now I'm doing this problem, and they're not options anymore. So what are my roots? 4 of them. What are they? 2, the one I guessed in the beginning. -3. And plus or minus what? No, be careful.
Oh.
Oh, I root 2.
Plus or minus 2i? Okay. All right, so that's a little bit of review. Everything we talked about yesterday is kind of in here, plus this new reminder that you can always factor by grouping if it's possible. And yesterday, I don't think we got any imaginary roots, but it's possible to get those too. Tomorrow, we'll spend more time with that. Here's a couple other things I want to talk about. Reagan.
How would you graph the 2i?
You can't. They don't get graphed on the real number plane, coordinate plane. They don't get graphed. The only 2 points that you would actually plot would be 2 and -3. That is not enough to get the picture. So I'd have to plot some other random points. Like maybe my y-intercept and then a few other random. Okay. Now I need you to get your calculator out. Because we're going to review regression. So whether these are given to you just as points, or whether they're in a data, a table of data, or whether they're in a word problem and you have to sort them out, however it is, we've got 4 points here. And our job is going to be to write the equation of the cubic function that contains those 4 points. Now I want to just add a little bit of information here. If I were going to write the equation of a line, how many points does it take to write the equation of a line?
2.
How many points? 2. So to get y equals mx plus b, it takes 2 points. The degree on that is 1, right? So to get a first degree equation, it takes 2 points. To get the equation of a parabola, it takes 3 points. Now I know what you're thinking, maybe. You're thinking, gosh, Mrs. Ford, a couple of nights ago in our homework, we wrote the equations of parabolas, but they didn't give us 3 points. Do you remember what they gave you a few nights ago when you were writing the equations of parabolas? Remember there were some pictures? What did they give you when you had to write the equation of your parabola?
The vertex.
Oh, they gave you the vertex
1 point.
and some other random point, right? Now, we didn't think about it at the time, but they really gave you 3 points. You didn't need all 3 because you had the vertex, but they gave you 3 points. Can you tell me what the third point would be that they actually gave you, Jamie?
Opposite except
Exactly. If you know, let's say this is the point 1, 2, and this is the point 4, 5, you know what this point is. You didn't need it to write your equation, and that's fine, but it was there, right? Because of the symmetry, we can figure out what that point is without any trouble. So to write the equation of a quadratic, it takes 3 points. To write the equation of a cubic, then it takes 4 points. What I'm trying to say is, it takes 1 more point than the degree of the equation. So if you want to write a 5th degree equation, you're going to have 6 points to do that. Luckily, you don't have to do it, your calculator's going to do it. So let's put these points in. Remember how we do that? Can somebody walk us through it? How do we do this?
Edit.
Yep. I got to go to Stat, Edit. I'm full of data already from some other problem, so I'm going to clear my list. Now I can put in X's and Y's. Now I rigged this problem, I think. We'll see how well I did that. Now, I'm telling you to do a cubic regression, so you don't actually have to plot these. I'm telling you it's a cubic regression. So we're going to go straight to our Stat Calc menu and go down to cubic regression. And did it give you, for cubic, it's going to be like this. Did it give you A, B, C, D values? 3x cubed, 4x squared, minus 8x plus 1? Everybody okay with that? That's pretty easy. In the homework, I think there's a problem that might say find a quartic regression. What does that mean? Degree 4. So they'll have to give you 5 points, but you'll put it in and everything's exactly the same. All right, that's easy enough. All right, let's see. Also tonight, you're going to have to do something like this. Backwards of what we did yesterday. Yesterday and earlier today, I gave you the polynomial, and then you did your synthetic division and all that stuff and came up with the answers. Now we're going backwards. Any idea? Dan?
We put x minus 2
Very
is
good.
x minus 3 and x plus 1.
Very good. If the roots, if x equals 2, then that means the factor was x minus 2. Would you agree with that? And x minus 3 and x plus 1. So there's your polynomial. And yes, you get to multiply it out. So we'll FOIL. And then we'll FOIL again, a bigger FOIL now. So remember how to do this? Just make sure, whatever order you do it, and that's not important, just make sure that each of these gets times by both of those. So try to be organized so you keep track of everything. But x cubed plus x squared, I took this times both of those. Minus 5x squared minus 5x, I took this times both of those. And then 6x plus 6. Now again, you can do that in any order you want. That's what I got. You okay with that? It's pretty easy. Well, tomorrow we're going to have a quizzy poo. And to prepare for that, I'd like you to get your packets out because we have several wonderful practice quizzy poos in here. So, right on the front page is a great example of a quiz, so let's look at that one. Alright, are we ready? Alright, number 1, let's see. Find f of 2x if f of x equals 3x squared minus 4x plus 5. What do we do?
Plug in 2x.
Plug in 2x for every x. Kids, this is not hard. Every x, we're going to plug in 2x. So we're going to have 2x squared minus 2x plus 5. And then we're going to simplify it like juniors and seniors, not like freshmen. We are not going to multiply 3 times 2. We're going to remember that in the order of operations, we have to do the exponent first. So this would be 3 times 4x squared, so 12x squared, minus 8x plus 5. Everybody okay? We can do that. All right, next sketch. Oh, this is yesterday. yesterday. This is an easy one. It's already factored for you. What do you have to pay attention to? Some of them are squared. So let's put our dots on here. Where are our dots gonna be? -2, 3, and 1. I said dots. I should have said x-intercepts. Those are my x-intercepts. What's the degree of this equation? 5. Okay, now stop and think. What does 5 mean? Degree 5. Odd.
Start down, end up.
Start down, end up. So I'm going to start down here. What do I do when I hit that point? Bounce off. Everybody see why we're bouncing off there? That came from x plus 2 squared. Alright, so it's going to come down somehow and pick up this point. What's it doing? It hits that one. Bounces again. Comes up and grabs that point. What's it doing? It hits that one.
Goes through.
Goes straight through it. Which is what we hoped would happen because it starts down and ends up. Good? Number 3 says find the zeros.
So just groups.
This one groups. Very good. Now, could you do the PRR synthetic division thing on this problem?
Yeah.
You absolutely could, but that will take you way more time than just grouping it. If you notice it groups, oh my goodness, group it. So the first 2 I can take out an x squared. The last 2 I can take out a -4. When I do factoring by grouping, what has to happen? Gotta have a match. Write the match down. Everything else. Notice I don't square the match. I don't write it twice. I just write it down. And then everything else, and what do you notice about that? X plus 2, x minus 2. So you will put in the answer blank, because you were asked for the zeros. The zeros are -5, -2, and 2.
So it says find the zeros. Could you put that in your calculator and then do second calc and find the zeros?
Put the picture in there? Absolutely, but this is a no calculator quiz.
Okay.
But yes, that's exactly right. You can sketch that on your calculator and then find the zeros.
Find the zeros,
Yep, the zeros are where we cross the x-axis. Those are the roots, come straight from the factors. Okay? Number 4 has the same directions. But what do you notice about number 4? It doesn't group. Now luckily, that's just a 6, which means what? Why do I say luckily? There's not a lot of options, right? Now we're going to address situations where none of your PRRs work, but that's not going to happen on tomorrow's quiz. We're not ready for that yet. So some PRR is going to work. It may take you a few guesses to get it, but you're going to get one that works. Okay, so here we go. What do you want to try? 2?
It's always easier to.
It works.
It does one.
So out comes the 2. And what is left? Which is a quadratic. Factors. So what do you put in the answer blank? This is a cubic polynomial. You better put 3 things in the answer blank. -3, -1, and 2, the one you guessed. Anything that gives you 0 is a 0. That's why they're called zeros. They give you 0. Everybody good? Robert?
What if it doesn't factor?
Then
when
you use the quadratic formula.
Okay, and then that will find your zeros
Yep.
for you. Okay.
Yep. That's the beauty of getting it to the quadratic, because you can always get your roots from the formula. Okay? And then finally, Alex wants to fence in his tennis court. He has 300 meters of fencing. And his house will serve as one side of the court. Okay, so he needs fencing on just these three sides. A lot of you probably have backyards that way, where you have fencing around the backyard, but the house side doesn't have any fence on it. What is the area of the largest court? So I want to find the max area. That's my goal, find the max area. Yes, 300 meters of fencing. I need that piece of information. What do you think? Grace, is your hand up?
No,
Oh,
sorry.
do you want to offer a suggestion?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. We have 300 meters of fencing. How could I set this up to reflect that I have 300 meters of fencing?
You could do like divide 300 by 4 and just go from
Okay, now, let's talk about two issues. 300 divided by 4. What does that assume? That assumes something. Well, that we're doing all four sides, which we are not, and that the rectangular area is actually a square. Neither one of those things is true necessarily. I mean, I don't know because I haven't done the problem yet, but I can't assume it's a square. I have no idea what this side is. I'm going to call it X. I have no idea what that is. But if that one's X, what's this one? X. And if these all together make 300, then what's that? 300 minus 2x. So now I have the dimensions of my pen. Vincent?
If you do this, do you have to have that certain side be 300 minus 2x?
Great question. Let's finish this, then we'll go back and set it up the way you did. Or a different way. Okay, let's finish this. So, Vincent's question was, Mrs. Ford, what if I let my X be this instead of this? So we're going to do that in a second, but let's finish this. What's the area of this tennis court going to be?
300.
Now the area is not 300. The perimeter here is 300, and this part is 300. But how do I calculate the area of a rectangle? Length times width. You with me? So that would be 300x minus 2x squared. What shape is that? That's a parabola. And what am I looking for? Oh, now wait a minute. That's a parabola with a negative coefficient, so doesn't it open down? I want its maximum. What am I really looking for? The vertex. What's my little tricky formula for finding the vertex? X equals negative b over 2a. Be careful, the equation is backwards. What's negative b? Negative 300. What's 2a? Negative 4. 75. Great. 300 divided by 4 is 75. So x is 75, which means this dimension would be 150. So Vincent, what is the area? 75 times 150, what is that? Do that for me. What's 75 times 150?
11,250.
11,250?
Yeah.
Okay, so square meters or whatever, that's what we got here. Now, let's go back and redo the problem, because Vincent asked a very cool question. he said, what would happen if I let this be x? Well, okay, what would these be then, if that was x?
300 plus X.
Okay, now be careful, be careful. If that's x, then this is how much I have left to do the rest, right? But I'd have to divide that by 2 because I need a piece of it up here and a piece of it down here. So that area formula, or equation I should say, that area equation would be x times 300 minus x over 2, which is, let's split that so we can do our, that would be 300 over 2 minus x over 2. So 150 minus 1/2 x. So that's going to give me 150x minus 1/2 x squared. Negative b over 2a.
Negative 1.
So that x is 150. So, moral of the story, doesn't matter. Great question, though. Great question. I think it's simpler probably to set it up this way in terms of just not having this mess to worry about. Okay? Well, that was all right. Let's see, there's another one in here I wanted to do. Just turn the page. There's one that says, period 1 is awesome. Oh, period 1 is awesome. This is almost exactly the same quiz. I think this is the one I did last year. So would you take a moment, and it's front and back, and see if you can do it? With your partner, compare answers, see what you come up with. Yeah.
I didn't get the.
Well, you'll have to get one out of that first bin over there, bottom, where Lexi's sitting, bottom left.
I think it's one of Bruce.
Oh, I think it's
On this.
Mr. Freegee.
you have problem 1 done? Did you notice anything about it?
Groups.
Yeah, groups, pay attention to that.
When you get like -2 right here. Yeah, it looks like you're supposed to like follow it out pretty much. You're not supposed to like find an answer on it.
Oh, so like, that could be my question? Yeah.
That's what we should do.
It goes why?
I'm hearing some stuff I'm not sure is math. Hello? Are we focused? Yes. All right. Are you doing this? Problem together, let me know when you're ready. Please don't just copy down mine, use mine as a check. Let me know if I have a mistake. right on the graph, how do we know if we start up or down? Who can help us out here, Grace?
The sign on the outside.
Well, yeah, the sign on the outside is part of it, because a negative on the x to the third or the x to the fourth or whatever it is, a negative out there is going to turn it upside down. But also, Reagan,
How many degrees it has?
yeah, what the degree is. If the degree is an odd number, so in other words, if when you count up all your x's, I didn't write it down, but when you count up all your x's, if that's an odd number, then you know you're going to start down and end up, unless you put a negative in front, then it turns it upside down. If it's an even number, you start up, end up, unless it has a negative. So looking at my picture, this must, I don't even remember, this must have been an even with a positive coefficient, which, so I started up and ended up. Now, one little piece that was added in here, did you catch it? It said label all intercepts. And we've been used to doing the x's, but you had to label your y-intercept too. And everybody in this room knows how to find a y-intercept. How do you find a y-intercept? You let x equal 0. So when I put 0 in for the x's, I got negative 18. Was my math right? It makes sense that it would be down there somewhere. Okay? Anything else about these first 4 problems? Anybody have any issue with the first 4 before we do this last word problem? So we're feeling confident? Sarah?
So the only time you have start down and end down is if the leading coefficient is negative for
And the
an even.
degree is even.
Okay.
Lily, put your hand up.
Oh, I think I missed when you said how to get the y-intercept.
Okay, we know how to get y-intercepts. How do we get y-intercepts? Somebody help her out. We let x be 0. Lily, if you are on the y-axis, your x-coordinate has to be 0. So we're going to put 0 in for x and see what we come up with. Is that just for this kind of problem, class? No, that's for every equation in the whole wide world. If you want the y-intercept, you let x be 0. All right, let's do this little barn problem. Here we go. Looks a lot like the problem on the last quiz. This time we have 120 meters of fencing. And one side's the barn. Okay, we're going to maximize the area. Alright, so here we go. What's going to be your strategy? 120 meters of fencing. What, Hannah?
The length for each fence,
And let those be X?
and then the left side is these 2.
Everybody okay with that setup? So what's my equation for my area going to be then? X times 120 minus 2x? Right? And let's multiply that out, so that'd be 120x minus 2x squared. What kind of equation is that? Parabola opening down, right? Thank goodness, because I want a maximum, and if I didn't have one opening down, I'd be in trouble. How do I find my vertex? X equals? Watch it now, that equation comes out backwards. So negative b over 2a would be 30. So x is 30, and this would be 60, and then let's answer the question, what is the largest area?
times 30.
So 1,800 square meters. Bailey?
Could you put 30 by 60 or no?
Probably not if it says what's the largest area. Those would be the dimensions that would produce the largest area. But we probably should say 1,800. Okay. All right, one more potential kind of word problem. It just happened both of those quizzes had the same word problem on it. But another, I think you know, what's another potential word problem that could be on this quiz?
The cost one.
Yeah, where we have,
It would be like number 5 on.
did you find one in
Yeah,
there?
number 5 on Precal Quiz A. That one.
Okay, yeah, the next page, the quiz has a flower at the top. I'm so creative. And it says he's selling tennis balls for $2 each. At that price, he can sell 100 per day. So right now, his revenue is $2 times 100. Would you agree with that? He's gonna raise the price of his tennis balls, even though he knows that for every $1 increase, he will lose 2 customers. So what's happening to the price? Up by 1s, that's $1 whole,
Then down by 2.
and down by 2. So what's that new equation going to look like then? 2 plus 1x, and 100 minus 2x? And x is the number of price raises? Price is going up by 1s, customers are going down by 2s. Okay, what do we do now? Foil. Hopefully I foiled correctly. Now look, what do we got? Just like before with the fence problems, we have a parabola that opens down. He wants to maximize his income, so we need the vertex. Is that 24?
Oh yeah, the answer is 26.
Ay. We're gonna raise that price 24 times.
I like my answer.
So he is going to charge
$26.
$26.
Wait, how did you 26?
They're gold covers.
Now, I kind of knew we were going to get some kind of freaky answer because he is essentially raising the price 50%, but only losing 2 customers. So it makes sense that he's going to raise his price lots of times because he's only losing 2 customers each time. That's weird. Sarah?
How did you get the 26 again?
Sarah, what does the 24 stand for?
The number that you raised. Like
How many times I raise my price. Okay, so I raise it 24 times.
Yeah.
Each time is worth $1.
Yeah.
What was the original price?
$2 each.
So if the original price was $2 and I'm gonna raise it $24, then what's the price going to be? Okay, we got to sign up for tomorrow. And we have a quizy poo tomorrow. Plus you have late arrival tomorrow.
How late?